After the ordeal with Space Force security, and many more questions and digital paperwork, Selena was finally able to leave. After getting a ride for a taxi rideshare equivalent, she arrived at her home and workspace, nearly 4 hours late of her scheduled arrival with the moving team she'd hired. She was especially glad she had given explicit instructions and additional pay for the team to wait until she arrived before unloading. She did not need her expensive equipment stolen. Closing the door to the hovercar and making sure she left nothing, she walked up to where the movers were impatiently waiting and talking amongst themselves. Their impatience was evident, and the moving van was in a power save mode of some kind, as it sat silent on landing struts. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she said, as soon as she got to the group of 7. 4 of them were Nemean, a common species to the galaxy at large, stronger than any species across averages, and second only to humans in endurance. They were a furless, short and squat bipedal race whose skin was always in some kind of shade or hue of purple, and had 4 arms with 7 digits in each hand. 2 of the 4 were Tuxes, quintessential Roswell Greys, short stature, large bulbous heads, entirely hairless and grey in skin tone. As they hailed from a very low gravity world, these 2 would be considered hyper-strong by their race, as the planet they were on had the Tuxes equivalent of the supergravity description, even though it was only 87% of Earth gravity. The final being was a native to the planet, a Midbox, a very tall bipedal being with 7 eyes, equidistantly spaced across its round head, enabling a full 360-degree field of vision, including above and below, and visual acuity reaching into the near-infrared and near-ultraviolet spectrums. It was this being that first noticed Selena Thomas. "You're very late, human," he said to her as he approached. The very high-end translate he wore was giving him a deep baritone of a voice, and lacing it with an utter distaste and scorn in real time, without any lag. He continued without waiting for her to respond. "The only reason why we are still here is because I honour my contracts and that you paid a mediocre fee, resulting in, so far, a very minor net gain for my company." "I'm sorry," Selena pleaded again. "I was detained by Spaceport security. I'll make it up to you, I promise," she said quickly, as Midbox made a gesture to his work crew. They then started up the van and began the process of unloading the boxed up equipment. "How will you do that? Human currency is hardly worth anything this far from your limited human space." I'll stammered Selena, trying to think of something to help amend this slight. She wanted to make a good impression upon the locals, and little was forthcoming. "I'll give you and your company a 20% discount on all services I offer in perpetuity," she finally blurted out, and continued on, the full effect of her own words not registering until much later. "I'm a wetware prosthetist, registered and approved by the Galactic Council Medical Trade Federation and the Terra Medical League. I'm one of 67 such people on this planet." Ilthar, the Midpops, blinked quite slowly. He blinked all 7 of his eyes simultaneously. Once, twice, and then a final 3rd time, all quite slow, indicating stark confusion amongst his people. Such professions, as this human claimed to be, were limited to the very wealthy, only catering to those they deemed were able to pay their absurdly astronomical fees or to nefarious beings whose payment was a non-monetary favour. While accidents requiring wetware work in his profession were actually quite rare, even with one such event, he was sure to make up more monetary savings with this statement than in any amount of jobs his company could do, especially with the in perpetuity she declared. "Very well," he said. All anger and aminosity dropped at her declaration. "I expect a full document draft in 8 planetary rotations from my legal experts." He turned to his crew and began barking orders. "Alright, let's get this job done. Tex." The 2 Tuxes looked at their boss. "You better listen to our client and help her understand our power distribution protocols. No skimping. She's a business partner, am I clear? Movers, not a thing broken, dropped or damaged. Whatever happens to this equipment is taken out of your pay. We clear?" There was a number of cultural equivalents of "okay" or "sure, boss" said amongst the 6 workers assembled. It took the rest of the night to get everything situated. The boss and the 2 techs were the last to leave, as troubleshooting power distribution was painstakingly finicky work, resulting in multiple blown test fuses. As an additional act of goodwill, she had ordered takeout and experienced her first truly alien meal amongst those that called her a Xeno, on the planet they all now called home. It was well past dark when she deemed everything acceptable, and finally was able to rest. She went to the refresher, bathroom lavatory, and stripped out of her clothes, looking at herself in the full mirror. Dark chocolate brown eyes gazed back at her, black bags under both of them displaying her fatigue to those who knew how to look for it in humans. Her cute, bushy black afro had many flyaways, showing a distinct frazzle look about her that any human would not miss unless blind. Her olive-toned skin held multitudes of surgical stars. Much of her biology had been replaced. The accident she had sustained as a child should have killed her. She no longer had limbs of her own, hardly anything worth calling a stump. Her entire core skeletal structure was some kind of non-reactive titanium alloy synthetic. Her limbs were detachable at the shoulder and pelvic joints. It would be connected by a wetware, high-fidelity petapit fiber optic cabling apparatus. The left side of her ribcage and left lung were synthetic as well. However, it was a seamless design. After taking in her visage, she put medicated eye drops into the prosthetic eye, then began the laborious process of disconnecting her prosthetic limbs, save for her right arm, while she was in the bathtub. During the long 3-week flight to her destination, she had been unable to properly care for herself, and her prosthetics were in dire need of tuning in the worst way. Not to mention, what skin she did have at her connecting joints was red, chafed and inflamed. "Fucking shit!" she exclaimed in a hiss of agony, as she rubbed a common, medicated ointment on her raw and reddened skin, gritting her teeth at the stinging pain of real nerves. After enjoying the application of ointment, she turned on the bathwater, her free limbs in rest mode, laying in a pile by the biological waste disposal unit, the fanciest name for a toilet she had ever heard. She hissed a bit in pain again as the warm water touched her inflamed skin, but such pain disappeared quickly. She lay in the half-full bathtub for some time, not really asleep yet neither fully awake, until she noticed the water had become cool quite subtly to her perspective. Sighing, she unplugged the tub and then actually bathed and cleaned herself. Holding herself out of the bathtub with one arm and onto her very soft bath mat, she dried off and then began the laborious process of reattaching her delicate limbs from her carry-on case she kept with her always. They were lightweight and full of electronics and sensory nodes. These things were the closest simulacrum to human flesh she had ever experienced, and were her most prized possessions, far more prized than her nanoscale 3D printers. After reattaching her three delicate limbs and removing her right arm to apply ointment on it, swearing again as well, she rummaged through her pack and pulled out a small black disc and tapped it 3 times to turn it on. A small, full-colour HD 2D image appeared of a dark-skinned man. He was caught off guard, tending a barbecue of some kind, and smiling brightly at something on screen. He had short salt and pepper hair, brown eyes, and a physique that showed he was a gym rat, as he only wore a very stretched-out black tank top. A blurred tattoo was seen on his shoulder, only 2 letters visible, U and S. "I'm finally doing it, Dad," she whispered to the hollow photo. "I'm going to be helping people here, just like you did. I'll send Mum a vidmo in the morning letting her know I'm safe, okay? Night, Dad." With that, she fell asleep and would meet the coming day.